Mayan calendars. The Maya of Central America used a combination of calendars, the Toltec, in which the 260-day almanac of sacred events. Each day was named for one of 20 gods and given a number between 1 and 13. The combination of number and name predicted a good or bad luck on that day. The Maya also had a 365-day calendar based on the solar year. This calendar was called the Habab. It included 18 months of 20 days each. The remaining 5 days, called the Waib, were considered unlucky. The Maya fasted, made sacrifices, and avoided unnecessary work during this time. The Maya adopted the Habab from the calendar of an earlier civilization called the Olmec, combining the Zolk in and Hab gave a 52-year cycle called the calendar round. The longest Maya calendar, called the long count, was based on a 5,128-year cycle. It was used to record notable events. The Aztec of Mexico updated the Maya calendars for their own use. Okay, so the Mayans had more than one calendar. They had a 260-day calendar that was kept up for sacred events. Okay, each of those 260 days was named for the gods and given a number between 1 and 13, and then it predicted if it was good or bad luck for that day. They also had a 365-day calendar that had 18 months and 20 days each. Okay, the 5 days that were not accounted for were considered unlucky. So the Mayans fasted, made sacrifices, and basically did anything unnecessary on those days. So their calendar was very different from ours, which is the same all the time. And we really only have Friday the 13th as a considered an unlucky day. A society of thinkers. The Maya had several different calendars. One of them was a solar calendar based on the movement of the sun. It had 360 days, along with the month of 5 unlucky days. On these bad days, the Maya made sacrifices to the gods. This came to a total of 365 days, very close to the calendars we use today. The second calendar was a ritual calendar used by priests to determine which days were good days and which were bad. This one had only 260 days. These two calendars were combined into a calendar round system where it took 52 years for a date to repeat. One of the main purposes of the Mayan calendar was to ensure that all rulers and priests knew when to hold religious ceremonies. Okay, so this is just talking about the same calendars we just talked about. The 365-day calendar, okay? 5 of those days were bad days, unlucky days. The second calendar was for rituals, and that had 260 days. They combined the two calendars, and that was called the calendar round, and it took 52 years for a date to come back up. The main purpose of these calendars was so that the rulers and the priests knew when to hold their religious ceremony, because religious ceremonies were very important. Among their other accomplishments, the ancient Mayans invented a calendar of remarkable accuracy and complexity. At right is the ancient Mayan pyramid Chichen Itza, Yucatan, Mexico. The pyramid of Kukulcan at Chichen Itza, constructed circa 1050, was built during the late Mayan period, when Toltecs from the Tula became politically powerful. The pyramid was used as a calendar. 4 stairways, each with 91 steps and a platform at the top, making a total of 365, equivalent to the number of days in a calendar year. The Mayan calendar was adopted by the other Mesoamerican nations, such as the Aztecs and the Toltec, which adopted the mechanics of the calendar unaltered but changed the names of the days of the week and the months. The Aztec calendar stone is shown above. The Maya calendar uses 3 different dating systems in parallel: the long count, the Zolkin, which is the divine calendar, and the Habab, which is the civil calendar. Of these, only the Habab has a direct relationship to the length of the year. All right, this is an example of the Aztec Mayan calendar. I couldn't read it if I wanted to. These are the Mayan step pyramids that we were just talking about at Chichen Itza. The number of steps represented 365, which was the days of the year in one of their calendars. The term pyramid is a geometric reference to the shape of these constructions. The Mayan version of the pyramid is truncated so that a temple can be built on top. The ancient Mayans built two types of pyramids, those that were meant to be climbed and those that were not. The first type was used for holding sacrificial rituals. The other type was not meant to be touched and was sacred. The steps on these structures were too steep to climb, and many times they had doorways leading to nowhere. During their rituals, the priests would ascend the pyramid from the earth to the sky by means of staircases. They believed that this brought them closer to the gods. Okay, so they had two types of pyramids, ones that you were supposed to climb and ones that you weren't. So the ones that you were supposed to climb were used for rituals. Sacrifice means you give something up. Okay, we talked about before how that was often like human blood or a human heart. Um, so they would start at the bottom and the priests would go to the top, and they would say that's from the earth to the sky, bringing them closer to the gods. These staircases led from ground level to the temple. The number of staircases that the pyramids had varied, but there were typically two or four. Many times there would be a platform connecting the steps somewhere near the middle of the pyramid so that the priest king could stop and do part of his ritual before continuing to the top. So they would climb halfway up, they would stop, they would perform half of the ritual, they would climb the rest of the way up and finish. Aside from having religious functions, Mayan pyramids also had other purposes. The pyramids were built so high that their tops could be seen protruding out of the jungle. Because of this, the Mayan people were able to use them as landmarks. That was not the only significance of building them so high, though. They also served as a reminder that the gods were ever present. Some pyramids even housed burial chambers for higher ranking officials. Housed inside these mammoth structures were small burial rooms. There were narrow corridors that led to these chambers. These burial chambers often contained treasures such as jade. Okay, so the pyramids, they were used for religious purposes, but they were also used as landmarks. They were really, really high and tall so that they could be seen above the jungle so that you could help find your way or know where you were. Okay. And some of them they also used for burial chambers, which means like a grave or a coffin. So if you were important in society, you might get buried within one of these pyramids in one of the chambers in a little room. Okay, and in these rooms they would put other things like jewels and stuff used to be buried with people. So jade is a very beautiful green, expensive stone. All right.